It's new, it's sexy, it's gonna blow your goddamn mind. Straight from the makers of games like Peggle and Candy Crush, Halo 5 Guardians is the first Halo addicted to crystal meth. When you're playing Halo 5 Guardians, the only way out is death, and we like it that way. What's going on, Halo fans? LukeTheNotable here. As you can obviously tell, today we're going to be talking about Halo 5. And I know it's very easy to make fun of Halo 5's campaign, and it's mostly because the story of Halo 5 is just not there. However, if you look at Halo 5's campaign from a gameplay perspective, it's actually a fairly good campaign. But since Halo 5's release in late 2015, the game has seen a ton of updates to not only its multiplayer, but also its campaign. The entire campaign has been rebalanced since release. So if you maybe played through Halo 5's campaign when it first came out and haven't touched it since, it actually plays a lot differently now. This video is going to be going over some of those differences, but also bringing up the speedrunning perspective of all of this. There's some interesting ways that these balance changes affected speedrunning and the different ways that you can go through all of these missions in the Halo 5 campaign insanely quickly. I had to play a lot of Halo 5 for this video, and no, the story doesn't get better the more times you play it through. But I found a real appreciation for the gameplay, and in this video I'm hoping to give some of that appreciation to you guys, so maybe some of you can appreciate Halo 5's campaign just a little bit more. So open up your toilet and put Halo 5 exactly where it belongs, because today we're going to be talking about the Halo 5 record that can't be broken. Okay, before we get started, let's explain some things. The title is a little bit ambiguous, but if you didn't know, Halo 5's campaign has been updated. In April of 2016, just a couple months after Halo 5 officially released, the campaign saw some updates that changed the way that it played. From internal and external feedback, 343 Industries found that the solo player campaign, even on Legendary, was a little bit easy, and they wanted to rebalance it. They found that Covenant enemies like elites and grunts were easier to kill in the campaign, but enemies like Prometheans were a lot harder to kill. So Covenant-based campaign missions could be played relatively easily, but the Promethean-heavy missions were a lot harder, especially Promethean-based missions that had the Warden Eternal in them. The Warden Eternal was much stronger back then. We also saw other updates to the actual Halo 5 weapons sandbox that came almost a year later. Most of these changes to the weapons sandbox nerfed or decreased the power of most of Halo 5's weapons. And with the combination of these two updates, Halo 5's campaign has been changed forever. Overall, the Halo 5 campaign with the combination of these two updates is much harder to complete. The top two fastest runs for Halo 5 are held by David Spartan 95 at 1 hour, 23 minutes and 48 seconds, and Distro at 1 hour, 24 minutes and 1 second. Both of those runs are played on the unupdated version of the game, meaning they are runs of the Halo 5 campaign as it was released in 2015. There's over a 20-minute difference in the fastest run on the updated version of Halo 5. That record is held by BatChat at 1 hour, 48 minutes and 40 seconds. I got in touch with Distro. He's the owner of the record for the second fastest Halo 5 Legendary speedrun of all time. I asked his opinion if he thought that the old records played on the unupdated version of Halo 5 could ever be beat by someone playing on the updated new version of Halo 5. He told me that while it wouldn't be impossible for someone to beat the old records using the new updated version of the game, doing that would be very difficult. The updated version of the game is just harder to play. But I wanted to see for myself, so first I played the updated version of Halo 5, and I got it in 4K too, which is kind of nice. Halo 5 looks incredible in 4K, and it was kind of nice to play through the entire campaign in true 4K again. But if you want to play the unupdated, vanilla, original, whatever you want to call it, version of Halo 5's campaign before it was touched by all of the 343 updates, this is how. Now for this, you'll need to have a copy of the actual Halo 5 game. If you've downloaded it digitally or you get it on Game Pass, this won't work. First, you'll want to make sure that your console isn't connected to the internet and won't connect automatically. Once you've ensured that your console is not connected to the internet, uninstall Halo 5 off your Xbox. Then pop in your Halo 5 disc and it will install Halo 5, but just the campaign without the updates. Make sure not to turn the internet for your Xbox back on. Do not connect it back to the internet or it will start to download those updates. updates. Unfortunately, doing this means that you're going to have to play through the entire Halo campaign in order to unlock all of the missions. Also, if you're playing this game on the Xbox One X, you're not going to be able to play it in true 4K. It'll be technically 4K because you are playing it on the Xbox One X, but it won't look as good as it could without the updates. It's okay, the offline version of this game still looks very good, and you'll notice that it plays a lot differently too. So here I'm playing on the offline version of the game, just going to load up the mission Osiris. This is the first mission, and you'll notice that it's a lot easier to speedrun. Skip the cutscene, we don't need this! So I'm playing through on Osiris. This is the unupdated version of the game. I am currently offline. None of the updates to Halo 5 are in this version. You can actually tell because my battle rifle shoots straight. Look at that. But the unupdated version of the game is so much easier to run because the enemies just appear to be less accurate, less aggressive. Overall, you're going to take less damage and die less moving through this mission. Your runs are always going to be pretty much the same, but they're just going to be a little bit easier to pull off. You don't have to focus so much on RNG and getting lucky. You'll notice that the entire Halo 5 campaign across the board in the unupdated version is a lot easier, but in Promethean heavy sections it can be a bit harder. For instance, in this section on the mission Osiris, I was able to hold down this spot in the updated version of the game fairly easily, but on the unupdated version of the game, Prometheans have the ability to teleport behind you, and because of this, I was overwhelmed fairly quickly with the same strategy that worked on the updated version of the game. Thankfully, Halo 5 has a lot of magical speed running skips that can allow you to skip large portions of the game by jumping out of the map. Here's a strategy on the first mission in Halo 5 Osiris most people can do with a bit of practice. Boost past those two soldiers. It's pretty easy on the unupdated offline version of the game. Come to the last two bushes and sprint off. That'll shoot you way up into the air, and what you're going to want to do is ground pound on those two little icy rocks. That's going to take you home. Once you're through, move through the back of the map, and it should be easy for you to skip this entire section. To be honest, Halo 5 speedrunning isn't necessarily about how fast you can go, but sometimes it's about how many invisible barriers and walls you can remember the locations to avoid your death. The mission Unconfirmed, which is on screen now, is another incredibly fun mission to speedrun and play in Halo 5 because it is so fast. At the start here, it's just a straight sprint, but there are some things you can do to save a bit of time. Check this route out. It's so fun to actually complete and not that difficult. This is a good intro to sort of what running through Halo 5 for the most part is. Fast, but also kind of technical. At the start of the mission, take this route to the left to ensure that no Prometheans shoot you. If they do, this jump is hard. What you're going to do is jump on this box, do a little thrust jump to grab that pipe, quickly move onto this platform as fast as you can, jump off the corner and stabilize to grab hold of that pelican, then move towards the back of it. You can do a nice easy run and thrust to the top platform where you're going to fight some Prometheans. This run was completed on the original version of Halo 5 that is not updated, and it technically should be a little bit harder than playing it on the updated version of the game. If you remember, Prometheans were nerfed in the updated version of Halo 5, and in this mission, you fight primarily Prometheans, but from a speedrunning perspective, the Prometheans aren't that much harder to take down on the updated version of the game. So the times for this mission won't see that much difference if you're playing on the updated versus the unupdated. This mission also has a fair amount of skill jumps. If you come to this location here and boost off of this little silo, you can boost up to this part of the map. Once up here, you can move along the edge using specific clamber jumps on the edge here. Using some sprinting and thrusting on some invisible walls, you can also move your way to the top of the map. Once you're up here, it's pretty treacherous. Trying to move across these rocks is a lot harder than it actually looks. It looks pretty easy because you can see all of the rocks, but there are a lot of places on this rock face that you'll just end up falling through the map and totally dying. I wasn't really able to focus any missions specifically, but Unconfirmed was one of the missions that I spent a good amount of time on, almost 3 hours. And I'm by no means an expert at Unconfirmed, but it is a fun speedrun because of the degree of tricks that you can do and how sort of easy they are if you know a decent amount about Halo 5. The missions that play supremely different are the missions that are primarily Covenant based, because in the offline version of Halo 5 before all of the updates, the Covenant were a fairly easy enemy. Sure, at the start of this mission, speedrunning calls for a fair amount of running above the map, but later on in the mission, you have to run past tons of Covenant, and comparing the two missions, updated and unupdated, it's supremely easier on the unupdated version of the game. You're not going to be able to run through this mission unscathed by any means, especially on Legendary, but the Covenant aren't going to end up killing you as easily, especially the Grunts and the Jackals. This little trick here will save you a ton of time, but it's very hard to do on Halo 5's updated campaign. But on the unupdated version of the campaign, because the enemies are a little bit dumber, it's a little easier to jump on the Phantom and ground pound to victory. This is the mission Swords of Sanghelios, and it's a contender for my favorite mission in all of Halo 5. It's a great all-together mission. Before I even had the idea to make this video, I've speedrun this mission before because it has a lot of really cool tricks. This was my first time ever speedrunning it through on the offline version of the game, and remember, this is one of the only missions that I had prior experience speedrunning. This mission is 100% a Covenant mission, and the Covenant are not as strong in the unupdated version of the game, and you can really feel it in this mission. You can see that the Covenant whipped off all of my shields, but they almost never kill me on this first little run. Though this section here in the valley is where I noticed the biggest difference. First off, those Jackal snipers are so much easier to kill with the unupdated version of the BR. Secondly, all of the enemies tend to miss you. This little jump, I don't know, it appears to be easier, although I did sort of come in a little awkward. But moving through this section of the mission on the updated version of the game can sometimes mean some trial and error. That's what you're seeing now. The Jackal snipers are going to kill you a lot more frequently, and the small peons of the Covenant are going to wick your shields off a little bit more frequently when you're moving towards the drop pod. Halo 5 is one of those games where in order for you to go insanely fast, you also sort of have to be insanely lucky. Yes, there's a good amount of skill that goes into every different speedrunning technique, but sometimes it's just basic luck. Here's a clip from Distro. He is the second place world record speedrun time in Halo 5. He got an incredibly lucky run here with a Warden super boost that allowed him to go way up above the map and then ground pound down below, skipping the Warden fight and a bunch of Prometheans. Ultimately, the unupdated version of the game is going to better allow you to get lucky, get some good RNG, because you're not going to be shot as much from the enemies around you, so pulling off crazy things are just a little bit easier. Speedrunning Halo 5 is definitely different, especially on the different versions of Halo 5's campaign. On the older Halos, you have to sort of focus on killing all the enemies in the room very quickly, but in Halo 5, you can just run around them. It's a difference that I think is very fun and sort of a breath of fresh air when it comes to speedrunning Halo. Halo 5's campaign may be missing some of the story elements that we would expect from a classic Halo campaign. However, its gameplay and overall design make Halo 5's campaign a very fun run all the way through. So whether you're fighting on the ground or fighting outside of the map, Halo 5's campaign will surely give you a fun time. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I make tons of awesome Halo content that you will definitely enjoy. You can click the LTN logo on the left of your screen to subscribe now. On the top right of your screen, you can click the recommended video. That's what it takes to get max rank in Halo 5. You might be surprised it takes longer than you think. My name is LukeTheNotable. I want all of you to stay notable, and I will see you in the next video.